Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald near Monticello at Allerton Park. We recently closed an Illinois Story from this very location. And what we told you at that time that we were going to visit the grounds of Allerton Park because we had just taken you on a visit to the mansion at Allerton Park. Didn't have time for the whole grounds at that time. So this story is about the grounds and the gardens and the sculptures at Allerton Park. And there's really more to see here outside than we can fit into a half hour anyway, but we're going to do our best. And Derek Peterson, I guess you know these grounds about as well as anybody.
Yeah.
You've been working them for several years.
Yeah.
You're the associate director of the park
That's
grounds,
right? That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
We got lucky today. Right behind you are some of the roses that come out in June. You know, so it's gorgeous.
Yeah, there's some knockout roses behind us. We replanted this in 2008 with these knockout varieties. You'll see the clematis growing on the wall. In a couple of weeks, you'll have the Jack Minniae clematis get these big purple blooms on them. And the pinks and the yellows, the knockouts, are a fairly nice variety. They really accent with the wall, the brick wall, the way it is. Yeah, it's great.
And we're at the entrance of, when you say the brick wall, we're at the entrance of the garden. It's called the Square Brick Garden?
The brick wall garden.
The brick wall garden.
Yeah, it was Allerton's first garden, actually. It was built in 1905, and originally it was his vegetable garden.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He loved formal gardens, and everything had a theme, didn't it?
That's right. And I saw an interview with his adopted son, John Gregg, one time, and John Gregg mentioned that Allerton used the landscape as his canvas and would paint it with the colors of the plants and the textures and everything. Yeah.
At this entrance, you can't help but miss these big standards, and atop these standards are these two statues. They're not identical, but they're sort of symmetrical, aren't they?
Yeah, mirrored images of each other. So John Gregg and Robert were in Hamburg, Germany, and they came across a shipping yard, and one of these mermaids were in the shipping yard, and she held in the original here on the left of us, held in her right hand a longboat, and in her left hand gave the universal sign for okay. And since this was his brick wall garden, he had the artist take the longboat out and put a bowl in it representing a plentiful harvest.
So he had to have two of them, too.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just one, he had to
mirrored
have two.
image, yeah.
Well, and one on each side.
That's
would
right.
Make for a perfect entrance.
That's
Let's
right.
go in.
Sure.
Okay, the brick wall garden. One of the first things you see at the very middle, of course, she gets the most intense location. Yeah. Who is she?
So this is the lady with the scarf statue, and this was the last statue that Robert brought to the park. He brought it here in 1942. He bought it in Chicago at an art fair. It's a sand silica cement statue, and so it's got a wire mesh on the inside, and then they troweled on sand silica cement. Yeah. Beautiful lady, prime location. Right in the middle of the brick wall garden. In fact, where she sits originally was Allerton's dipping pool, and this is the way he would irrigate his vegetable garden. So underneath of her, still to this day, where you see the flowers and the boxwood, is a concrete pool that would hold water. Okay, and that's how he would water his formal garden. Yeah. We got lucky too. The irises, these pink irises that rim the area here. You can see them all the way around. They're in bloom for us, and of course we're going to see a lot more of these hedges as we go through because you got miles and miles and miles of hedges. 2.1 miles of formal hedge. Yeah. We're gonna walk many of these gardens today. We're gonna see the food dog garden, and we're gonna see the hosta garden and peonies. Oh yeah. This is the time for peonies, and that's why we're here. So let's hit it. Huh? All right. That sounds good, Mark. Derek, on our way to the peonies, I can't help but notice this wisteria, by the way. I didn't know it grew like this far north. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's terrific. Yeah, we just came into the season here. You've really come at the right time, Mark. Yes, we have. We got the roses and the wisteria. This wisteria we don't give it nearly as much care as probably most people. We kind of let it go wild, and we get this effect. You know, the long trendiling branches that come out and kind of touch you as you walk by, and then the purple flowers and the smell. I mean, you can't get that over TV, but the smell is terrific. And you haven't, this is not that old. You planted this somewhat recently, didn't you? Yeah. This is probably 10 to 15 years old, so in the grand scheme of things, not that long ago. But speaking of old, I think this is called a parterre, this formal garden? Yeah, square parterre garden. So no English formal garden would be complete without a parterre of some sort, and a parterre is just a mass of plants, of some sort of green plants, growing and maintained in a shape. And so Allerton maintained this square parterre. It's actually privet. It takes a lot of maintenance, but it is beautiful once you get it trimmed.
But for guys like you that do the maintenance, well, that is a lot of trimming,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is a lot of trimming.
How many miles of hedges did you tell me you have in this place?
2.1 miles.
2 miles of hedges.
Yeah.
A lot of it's right here in this formal garden.
Yeah. No, this is a large chunk. This will take two guys about a full day to do. So
oh, this is terrific, and we can see that, you know, farther out in the distance against the brick wall, the rose garden comes around, spreads around this way. Oh, it's just lovely. We did come at a good time.
Yeah, you sure did.
Well, Derek, as you wander through these hedges that must be 10 or 12 feet tall, you're rewarded at the end, because this is what you call the Adam Walk.
Yeah, the Adam Walk. Yeah, it centralizes on the statue of the creation of Adam here. Yeah. Right in the middle, and it's a beautiful statue. It's the second limestone statue that we've had in the Park of Adam. The first one was toppled in 1977 when a young man decided to climb to the top. And so this is a replica of the original bronze that Allerton actually owned, which is in the Chicago Art Institute in Chicago in the lobby.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So he gave that to the Art Institute.
Yeah, he was a
really?
great in fact, I think there's a whole wing of the Chicago Art Institute named after Robert Allerton.
And this is done by Rodin,
the
sculptor.
Well, the bronze was done by Rodin, and then Allerton had a limestone guy that he would go to, Charles Lang, and Charles Lang replicated both of the statues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
It's quite impressive.
Well, Derek, I've been teasing these peonies for the whole program. We finally get to it. There must be 400 or 500 yards, a strip of these peonies of all different colors and different varieties. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's quite a show.
We're looking at some white and pink ones now. You start with the early varieties and you work your way down, and actually you start with white and you work your way down to the reds, and it's just colorful. It's like a wave of color.
This is you've come out just at the right time of year, Mark.
Now, this wasn't always like this. This always was a peony garden, but those old peonies, they were getting tired, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, your grandma's peonies, they would kind of fall down with the rain, and we've had some really tremendous weather here in the last few days, some winds and rain, and you'll notice that they all are standing upright. You know, you don't have the flopping effect, and back in 2003 when we renovated the garden, we replaced a lot of the old varieties with these new varieties that are standalone. We don't have to go in and stake them, and anybody who has peonies knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, they get wet and they fall right over.
Yep.
And as we move down the way, like I said, they get more colorful and a deeper toward the red colors.
That's right, more pink.
Some of them are singles, some of them are doubles.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And then you even get to some here that haven't even begun to bloom yet.
That's
right.
So
is that intentional?
Well, they'll just come and go, and so you'll have about a month worth of blooming in this garden. But right now, there's about a 2-week window where you'll get the full effect of the garden. And I like to compare it to the 4th of July. If you miss it, you've missed it for the whole year. But if you get it to it, it's a tremendous display.
Yes, it is. And like you say, you do have several weeks because some of them haven't opened yet.
Yep.
Well, Derek, more privet to trim.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This is, looks like a maze.
Yeah, the Chinese maze garden. And so Robert had a favorite pair of pajamas, and he had a shape on this favorite pair of pajamas, as the story goes. And that's the shape that you'll see replicated in this garden right here, and it's a Chinese symbol for good health and good luck.
So you got, and on each side, these are, again, he loved this synchrony of having right and left exactly the same.
That's right, mirrored images. Yep. And then you got the fish, the limestone fish here. Those are from a palace in Thailand, and originally they were fountains, and so there's a hole in the stomach up through the mouth. Of course, we don't have them hooked up to water now.
Right, but they would work as a fountain.
Right.
Okay, and then that's wonderful because that leads you right down to, there's a series of formal gardens here. The next one is the Chinese musicians.
That's right, yep.
And then the farthest one that we're looking down at now would be the sunken gardens.
That's right, yeah. And so the Chinese musicians, again, he would collect these. This isn't the original spot for these. Originally they were in the Lost Garden on the south side of the park, but over the years things have kind of been brought back into the north side formal gardens, and And this avenue of Chinese musicians is another example of that.
And again, he always loved to collect art where he was.
Yep.
He'd bring these back from Europe.
Yep, that's right. These are from Europe. Yep.
This guy's playing a drum of some kind.
Oh yeah.
This guy over here, he's shaking something. I'm not sure what he's got there, but he's shaking something.
Yeah, there's some flute players further on down the line.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yep.
Terrific. Okay, Derek, you progress from the Chinese musicians there down the steps, and of course they don't call this the sunken garden for nothing.
Right, right. We're about 8 feet below grade. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful down here too. And what would he have planned this sunken garden for?
You know, I can't tell you. He had so many small parties. You know, small invitation only parties. I think Brenda might have touched on that. He was a little hard of hearing, and so he had really quaint parties, and so I'm sure he had music down here. It's a great acoustical place. And then I think it was just for rest and relaxation as you came through. It's the termination point for the main formal gardens. And so it's a great termination point. I mean, it really rounds everything off.
Well, you take what a delicious walk through, you know, and then you get down here and you do feel like sitting down.
Right, exactly.
You just want to sit down and enjoy it.
Exactly.
You're flanked on every side by these wonderful entrances. Let's take that one there, that tall one there, for instance. They're very dramatic. Who designed this anyway?
Well, this was Robert's adopted son, John Gregg. And you'll notice the guardian fish on top of those. There's 18 of those in all. And those are actually, we just took those down a few years ago and had them re-gilded. And so with the gilding process, they actually melted Susan B. Anthony coin stock and put that on those fish. And so they're fresh and looking really nice, and the columns were repainted at that time and restructured a little bit. And so it's really a fresh look to kind of to liven the atmosphere a little bit.
So Allerton's son designed this garden.
Yep.
Well, he had an eye too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he sure did.
And again, we see these. If you look on these benches again, you see the same fish that we have that we experienced in the last garden, or in the maze.
Yeah, these are replicas of those two that we saw in the maze garden. And it amazes me that Robert Allerton had a limestone guy he could call Charles Ling. He would call, and Charles would recarve these fish for him. So probably a pretty good customer.
Your own limestone mason on call.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Now, for your purposes, a lot of people like to get married down here, don't they?
Yeah, this is probably the most popular garden to get married in, and you can tell it too. The brides and the grooms will come in from the steps, and it's almost set up perfectly for it.
Oh, it's so dramatic. Yeah, terrific.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce Branham, after all the formal gardens, there's an expanse of woods, and then Mr. Allerton decided he wanted to do something out here in the bottoms, didn't he? So that's what we're looking at now.
Right. He had a vision that I think far surpassed what most of us would ever dream of, and this is an example of that. Just the entrance to this sculpture, and the fact that this sculpture was put up in 1929. You know, the start of the Great Depression. Most people were, not doing so well.
Oh, they were really panicking.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's getting a sculpture cast over in France and brought back here, and builds this tremendous display for it. And so you've got the artistic look, the fact that you're supposed to approach it from these steps and kind of get this view of what is part of Greek mythology. The death of the last centaur, Chiron.
Wow. Now, okay, so what we have is, I've been told, is the longest garden in the park, because as we look in the distance, we can see the white pillars. That would be an entrance to this garden.
Right.
And symmetrically on the other side, there are also gardens, or pillars like that. And then you walk up these levels and levels and levels of steps,
Right.
Which give you pause as you're walking up to the statue.
Right. I mean, it truly is a way to kind of experience the art. You're out in nature, and yet you've got this beautiful piece of sculpture here. So again, I'm just always amazed at the vision and just the artistic expression that Allerton had.
In our last program, the people that saw that got a chance to tour the mansion.
Right.
And during this program, we're getting a chance to see the formal gardens and some of the statuary. But other people may not be aware that this park is 1,500 acres.
Yes.
And a lot of it's just undisturbed woods, isn't it?
That's right. This was really what he felt was his jewel, was this 1,500 acres of natural areas. And in fact, in his covenant that he gave to us, he said, basically, this is what I want you to maintain. The mansion's okay, but if you want to tear it down, go ahead. But don't disturb these natural areas.
Yeah.
This was priceless to him.
Yeah.
And really, you know, this is part where we're going to go look at the Sun Singer, which is really the iconic piece of this park, and probably his most magnificent sculpture. And I think probably his maybe crowning achievement, you might say, because it really sets this park apart.
Yeah. Well, let's
go take a look. Yep.
Well, Bruce, this huge statue is at the end of the road. I mean, you can't drive any further in Allerton Park.
Right.
This has to be your destination, right? But there's an interesting story as to why Robert put this statue way out here.
Well, you know, to me, this story really captures the heart of Robert Allerton, because it just shows how he thought and how he functioned. And the story is this: that in 1929, he's in Stockholm, Sweden, and he's staying at a hotel in the harbor, and he sees this statue that you see here. He's intrigued by it. He goes to see the sculptor, Carl Miles, and he has a copy of this, but it's life-size in his garden. And unfortunately, it didn't have a head and didn't have arms. So he gets an interpreter and says to the sculptor, Mr. Miles, I'd like a copy of this. And I want this size, but I want it with the arms and head like it has in the harbor. So he leaves in 29. So 31, 2 years later, this crate arrives here at the farms. Much bigger than they thought. So it's this full-size statue.
This is the size, he gets the size that was in the harbor.
In the harbor. So, you know, today we probably would have sent it back, you know, but nope. And actually his vision was for it to go right next to the house in the terrace garden there. Of course, if it was next to the house, it would be, you know, as tall as the house or taller. So what's he do? So he comes out here, and actually he didn't even own this property. Okay, this was not in his property. There were 4 houses situated around here. So he buys 3 of the houses, tears them down. The 4th is this elderly woman who's a widower living all by herself. And she says, I don't want to move, I don't have where to go. He says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll buy your house, and then I'll give you a pension, annual pension every year for as long as you live. She said, okay. So she moved to, I think, Cerro Gordo, and lived a nice long life with a pension from him every year.
Good.
He knocked down the house, planted these trees you see in the back, built this pedestal here of concrete, and put up his statue, which is now really the iconic piece of our park. So what was a mistake turned out to be the part we're most known for.
That's right. He was going to make the most of it.
Yes.
And this is called Sun Singer.
Sun Singer.
And God knows how tall it is, but it's tall enough to stand in a harbor.
That's a 15-foot statue. And of course, with the pedestal, I'm guessing we've got probably 25 feet there. And it was done to honor a Swedish sculptor, but the idea is that's Apollo, the god of the sun, and he's, you know, singing to the sun as it comes up each morning.
And it stood here for about 75 years, and then it got discolored and needed some work. What happened then?
Well, we had to take it down in 2007 and send it to a restoration company in Chicago, and they've restored it, got it back to that original finish. And they come down every couple of years and polish it up, so hopefully it'll last for another 75 years.
You know what I would like to have seen? I would like to have seen them trying to take that thing down.
Well, we don't have a picture of that, but actually we have a video, Robert Allen video, of them putting it up.
No kidding.
In 1931. Yeah.
Oh, be darned.
He had his own motion picture camera, and we've got some in our archives of this actual process of getting it up there, which, you know, now you bring out a crane, no big deal. Back then it was a big deal.
So the visitors here that drive all the way to the end of the road, they're rewarded.
Yes, absolutely. It's a tremendous vision as you come in here of this thing. So it's pretty stunning.
Okay, Bruce, we've just moved locations all the way to the other end of the gardens. And I guess this is as far, what direction is this? Far east, maybe?
Northeast.
Northeast, as you go with the gardens.
Correct.
This is what you call a vine walk.
Right.
It's gorgeous.
When Allerton gave us this property, this vine walk extended all the way down to our guardhouse, so it was pretty stunning. The university put in the parking lot, and of course then we lost that vine, the majesty of having that all the way to the end. So
it's still stunning though.
It is. Particularly, this is a trumpet vine, so in the summertime when it flowers, it's really quite beautiful.
Yeah. And I like the way you've planted those cedars on the outside too. He wouldn't have had those there, would he?
Well, actually, he did have them, but they got so large we had to replace them and start over, essentially.
Neat.
So.
Well, the trees will do that, won't they?
They do.
And the gate, you know, we're going to learn more about food dogs as we go, but the gate is, the vines are sort of protected at a gate by these dogs.
Yes, he had, again, he did a lot of his collecting, particularly later on in Asia, Southeast Asia. So these are, I guess, Korean food dogs. And then, as you'll see on the other side, he had a lot of, I believe, mostly Chinese food dogs that he collected.
Let's take a look over there. Because this is just outrageously, I mean, talk about...
Again, the scale of everything he did was just so unusual, particularly for Central Illinois. You know?
Oh, yeah. Now, these look, of course, different, and they're a shiny blue material. What are these dogs?
They're porcelain, and they're... you know, got this glaze on them that give them that shiny look, and these are in Chinese, or I guess the translation would be lucky dogs. And
that's what food dog means, yes, lucky dog.
and I think Allerton was just enchanted with them, and he started collecting them. And so he's got, we've got 22 displayed out here, and we've had some trauma to some of them over the years, so we've had to repair some of them, we've had to replace some of them, but it's still just a magnificent end. This is our, I guess, beginning or end. You can see at the very end, our natural areas trails start off. So this is all part of this kind of natural combined woodland with the art and the gardens.
Yeah, oh, it's just beautiful. And these dogs themselves, they are kind of, they have a kind of a comical face. I can see why he enjoyed collecting them. They're kind of they almost like they have a sense of humor.
They definitely are kind of smiling or laughing at us. But it's like I said, it's just a unique feature of the park to have this area. Again, we have a lot of weddings in this area. A lot of people really like this area of the park.
Derek, we mentioned as we stood at the gate of the food dog gate, you know, just outside that is one of the trailheads. Yeah. And this park is full of natural areas for people to just come and walk as far as they want to.
That's right. There's 14 miles of trails at the park. And you exit the formal gardens and then you're into the natural areas. And it's really, the formal gardens make up about maybe 10% of the park. 90% of it is wild and natural. So you get a whole makeup of upland, bottomland forests, floodplains. The south side of the park, the Sangamon River runs right through the middle of the park, which people in Springfield are very familiar with. And the south side of the park's mainly upland, so you get a lot of oak hickory forest over there. It's beautiful in the fall. So
you not only have, your crew not only has all the formal gardens to maintain, but hiking trails, while they don't take as much, they still take maintenance.
Sure. Yeah. We try to keep them as trimmed as possible. Yeah.
Trees fall down.
That's
and
right.
Of course, you got mulch that you need to replace.
That's right. Yep.
Because they get eroded and those kinds of things.
A few of the trails on the south side actually cut through one of the oldest prairie restorations in the state as well, and so we have to keep that trail through there mowed. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you to Bruce, to you and Bruce for helping us out here.
Thank you for coming out. It's been great.
Thanks. A reminder to you, Allerton Park is open 365 days a year from 8 a.m. until sunset, and it's free. With another Illinois story near Monticello, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.